Welcome to Americanish, where we discuss faith, love, culture, and everything in between. My name's Adela Kochav.
And I'm Miriam Waba, and we are the Daughters of Diaspora. Welcome back. This is season 2. We are very, very excited to be hosting the wonderful, the one and only Weezy with us. I would say you're our first guest, but you're not really a guest. We're actually your guests because this is your
Everybody
studio.
that has me on as a guest on their podcast in the studio says that, and I'm like, I didn't pay for it. Like, you guys pay for this, so. But I do feel like people think because they record here that I will be on the podcast, which almost was like a way that I thought we would get people in here. I was like, oh yeah, we'll just say yeah. Like,
offer yourself as a guest.
But no, like some podcasts aren't good.
Okay.
They're not.
I hope that's not us.
Yeah, I mean
I'm
you're
sitting
here, so. Well, how are you? How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited. I've never done, I feel like a podcast that isn't in my realm. Like, I feel like most podcasts that I do, like, my listeners may have heard of before, and I don't know if I would have heard of Americanish before, or, like, yeah, if it wasn't here, so I'm glad it fell on my lap.
Well, we're going to jump into everything, and I mean everything. I want to talk about horrible decisions. I want to talk about Fuse, TV, sex sells. I want to talk about the studio and the decisions you made to end up here and the work that you do. But before I get all to the fun stuff, I want to start with you for a second.
Okay, what's not fun about me?
No. It's all going to be fun.
Okay.
So, Weezy, where does that come from? Because obviously that's not your actual legal name.
Yeah, my name's Gila, but I go by Weezy because I have asthma.
Okay.
Oh.
So.
Is that really the story?
Yeah, but a lot of people think it's because of Lil Wayne. I was a Lil Wayne fan when I was younger, so I think like people thought it's because I was obsessed with him, but no. I think the mistake, I should have put an H in it, like, you know, when you're
like
wheezing.
wheezing.
Yeah.
But it's just too late.
Yeah.
So.
Do you still have asthma?
Yeah,
Okay.
like really bad.
Did
There's
you-
an inhaler in the studio, right? There's like
Damn.
in one of the.
Oh, okay.
If I start fucking somebody, like it's at their house.
Yeah.
That's how somebody would like if someone was married, let's just say, and their wife came home, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're fucking her!" Like that's my stamp.
That's
Inhaler.
Actually,
inhaler.
speaking of Mexico earlier, I get all my inhalers from Mexico because they're only $3.
Oh, I get all my medicine from Mexico.
Well, don't
Look
we?
at that.
I mean, obviously, like a lot of Americans have to go to Mexico to get medicine, especially for kids and different stuff like people with life-threatening diseases. I've seen so many documentaries on that, but like no, even as someone that has insurance, it's still cheaper.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that name because somebody gave it to you, or did you give it to yourself? I remember in middle school they used to call me Bigfoot because I wear size 10 shoes.
Wow.
So they called me Bigfoot. Was that a?
I just looked down.
Yeah.
They
I
don't
have
look that
feet.
big.
For a girl, I do.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Maybe it was like both. It was like a
Okay.
MySpace thing at first, and it kind of just like stuck, and then yeah,
MySpace.
which is crazy.
That's lovely.
I miss MySpace.
Yeah.
You know, I always wanted a nickname, but my name's Adela, right? So people are like, we could call you Del. And I'm like, that's not really a thing. They're like, Deli. I'm like, I'm not a meat. But now I see your nickname.
Deli's cute.
It could be, but it's also a restaurant. Maybe like the Jew in me is trying to shy away.
Oh,
from it,
I didn't
you
even
know?
think about it. I was thinking Delly, Deli.
You know,
Oh,
that's
that's
actually cuter. My Finsta back in the day when I had a Finsta was Adelicious because I thought that was adorable.
That is cute.
Yeah,
I actually have a friend named Della. He's African. Dela.
I like that too. Well, now I'm rethinking all my shunning away.
I
from
think
the
Deli
deli.
Delly is.
Yeah,
really
when you said the food, I didn't even know. I was like, what restaurant?
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking like pickles,
Like
like rye
pastrami.
bread. Yeah.
Honestly, like I was dating this guy once who was like, yo, a deli is like the New York thing. This is how you've made it to greatness. He's like, think about it. You live above your deli. You own the brown store. And like, that's my dream.
The Yemeni guy at the bodega.
What the fuck? I was
That's
like,
my
you
brother's
that's what you
dream
want?
too. Like
Yeah.
his
Really?
retirement dream, like even if it's a money pot, is to one day like open like a small restaurant, live on top of it, and have his friends over like for cigars and domino.
That's what the guy at Lucien does.
Yeah, that's joy. That's like
It
when you
kinda
know
is
you've
nice.
made it.
But Lucien's the shit too. As
Yeah.
much as like it's turned into what it's turned into. Once like Kanye West is there for a
Yeah.
birthday party, you're fucked.
Yep.
But whatever.
Yeah.
We still go.
We were just talking about gatekeeping, and I was trying to gatekeep. Should I gatekeep it? I'll tell the people about the Queen. Have you ever heard of the Queen's Night Market?
No.
Now it's
so
out of the
he was
bag.
telling me
It's
how you
over
say it,
now.
Smorgasbord.
Berg, and I was telling him like that's whack. Like that's so.
Where's the Queen's Night Market?
In Queens.
Flushing?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. We should check it out.
Wait,
Y'all should check
is
it
it
out.
is it all Chinese food?
No, it's all like different cuisines. So they have.
Oh
Like,
no, I'd be down to go.
Taiwanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. You don't like Chinese?
No,
food?
I'm saying yeah, I'm down to go.
Okay.
I just thought it was all Chinese food.
No.
And I was like, I just want one restaurant. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, it would be weird if they had a food festival of all the same kind of food.
That's what they do. Don't they do that in Little Italy?
Yeah, they do that in Little Italy. They do it on like all the streets.
Yeah.
Every single street. It's just Saint
Yeah.
Gennaro.
I ain't gonna lie. There's a few cuisines that I could live off of. Chinese, no, but Japanese, yes. You could give me, what else I'm thinking? Probably Jamaican food.
Mexican.
Maybe Caribbean food, not just Jamaican. Mexican food, yeah.
I was just talking to someone about Mexican food, and they're like, "So what is Mexican food?" And they start like, describing it. I'm like, "Well, you have chilaquiles, you have enchiladas, you have like enfrijoladas," and like the more I'm describing it, I realize it's the same three ingredients in different presentations.
No, Mexican food is
But
definitely
everyone is amazing.
no
It's
shade.
tortilla, cheese, and sauce, and then it's like,
Basic.
how are you doing it?
But it's
like,
good.
It's so good. It's like, are you putting like the cheese inside the tortilla? Are you frying the tortilla and putting the cheese on top of it with the sauce? Like,
Have you been to
that's it.
Pajul in Mexico City?
No, it's number one. They say it's the greatest restaurant in the whole wide world. If you haven't been to Pujol, you should definitely
Pujol.
go. Amazing. Yeah, impossible to get a reservation.
So I made one like months before,
No,
and
plan ahead.
and I'm not gonna lie, when we got there, it was so funny because like I think it's $300 per person. I don't know how much it is.
It's not expensive.
And Mexico City has a lot of Michelin star restaurants, right? So like there was way better food I had, but when we were sitting there, we were eating, and my ex and I were sitting there, and he was like, "We really eat Mexican food for $300. I'm like, we're about to leave some of this shit here. Like, we gotta eat it." He's like, "I didn't think they was gonna bring fucking tortillas over here." I was like, "Yo, I didn't either. Like, I thought they were gonna elevate this shit." He was like, "I'm pissed." Then they brought up some 10-year mole or whatever, like, and
That's amazing.
it was okay.
No, it was probably amazing. I don't want to hear it.
But no, I'm gonna just be honest with you. Like, I don't like when people class up Mexican food too much. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I like a real Mexican restaurant. And now you got the napkin over your arm and shit. Like, stop.
Yeah, some cuisines don't need to be luxurious.
No, it just doesn't.
Like, number one, if anyone here is in Mexico City, you go to La Muertita, which as a Jewish person, I'm really happy about it. It's your typical, like, quesadilla stand on the side of the road where literally it's on the side of the road. You park, you eat it standing up. There's paper napkins, all the sauces everywhere. But they realize that there's Jewish Mexicans, which a lot of people don't realize.
I was shocked at that too.
Yeah, even though they're
I saw a
not.
synagogue. I was so confused.
Yeah, again, I'll give you a tour of the Jewish
I was
community
like,
in
maybe
Mexico.
maybe white people migrated.
No, we've got Mexican Jews, but these non-Jewish Mexicans who have their tortilla and quesadilla stand realize that there's Jewish Mexicans, so they started buying kosher cheese, and now they're the most successful like quesadilla stop in Mexico City. It's constantly there's cars lined up because it's the only place that the Jews can go. So corner of the
Wow.
market.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. My dad was kosher. I feel like until my mom just stopped caring. Like after a while, she'd be like, "I don't put macaroni and cheese on the plate. Fuck it. Like, what are we gonna do?" But like seriously, like being kosher when you haven't grown up that way is hard. Like my mom really struggled with different forks and knives and like getting certain food. Like I felt bad for her. But
Yeah.
Did you keep kosher at any point in your life?
I gave up right around once I could drive. My first piece of pork was a McDonald's, like a what's the sandwich?
McRib?
No, the breakfast.
Oh,
Egg
the sausage
McMuffin.
McMuffin?
Oh yeah, but I'm allergic to eggs, so it's just a McMuffin with like sausage.
You're allergic to eggs?
Yeah, but when I had that sausage McMuffin, I remember being in the car like, "This is what I've been missing." Holy shit!
Okay, Snoop Dogg just made a Beyond donut sandwich with Beyond sausage.
It's not the same. It's okay though.
So I hear.
Like honestly, it's just not the same. But it's kind of like masturbation. Like you're gonna come, but it's not sex. So like that's what pork and Beyond is to me. Like, oh, I'll be okay, but I'm not. It's not this.
I wouldn't know yet.
But
alas.
oh, my dad. So I didn't think about it once, and we were in the car, and I was like, maybe he won't notice, because my dad's just very aloof. And I ordered a sausage McMuffin. Then he asked the lady, "Is it pork?" I was like 16. I've never seen my dad get angry. He like almost pulled it out of my mouth. He looked like he was gonna cry, and I felt so bad. Now, do I still eat it? Yes, but not in front of him.
Okay, at least there's
Okay, that's
You
a
know.
little bit of respect. Okay, I wanna shift gears to studio, WTF Media Studios. Can you tell us about how this started, decisions you've made so far? You guys have had amazing success from all the things that I can see. Talk to me a little bit about it.
So WTF started in the pandemic. One of my best friends and I, who's also a really talented director and videographer, his name's Alex. He also works in podcasting, and he was the first person to bring video to my podcast. Actually, my co-host fired him because his price got too high. And we got into a whole thing about that, but him and I stayed friends. And then during the pandemic, I think we were on the beach smoking weed, chilling, and he was saying something like, yo, I got approved for like a PPP loan. Like, I don't know what I would do with it, if I would use it or whatever. We were both talking about all this money that people are giving out. And then it was just like, boom, oh my God, let's make a podcast studio, right? Talking shit. We would do so well. Oh, would we? So a month later, I went to another podcast studio that I recorded a really big episode on. And the audio was so fucked up. Ooh. And they wrote me an email, and they said, and I'll never forget, don't worry, the next time you recommend someone to us, because this is how many people, like, because Horrible Decisions would go or whatever, we won't use the same engineer. And I was like, that was the sorry? Like, I was shocked. Like, I mean, as someone that sometimes they would give us free hours for the most part that we would pay, but, like, I was so insulted. And I was like, yo, like, this cannot be my craft to the point that every time I walk in here and someone's black, they know me or they found this place through me. Like, I can't do this anymore if someone's not going to fuck with me. Like, I got to make my own shit. So when we made it, I mean, Alex, you know, and I really didn't know who we were going to hire, but I did know that, like, I really wanted black people to work there, particularly because it's so special. Probably like how you feel when you meet, like, a Jewish person that's helping you with any service. Like, you're like, oh, shit, like, you're kinfolk, right?
Yeah.
And I see the way my dad reacts when he's, like, sees Israeli people. Like, oh, I'll never forget Rush Hour when Chris Tucker? Yeah. And he was like, can I have the kosher meal, gefilte fish? And my dad was like, oh, I love him. He was like, this is the best. But that's how I feel. So I was like, I want people to come in and, like, feel like they see their reflection, right? And for me, you know, as a black podcaster, like, I didn't really feel like I was getting as far as I could because we were a black show. And so anyone that really has put a big check in my hand, like, was someone black. And I just felt like I had to do the same. Like, I just didn't feel like it could be right. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the podcast studios in New York, like, if there's going to be mainly black people here, like, why would I skip around, you know, to a resume that just happened to be from someone that wouldn't reflect the people that are in here? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure someone white will get hired here at some point. I don't know who it's going to be, but they got to be really woke. Like, I feel like they got to come in with Black Lives Matter tattooed on their chest. I bet you if a white person starts working here, it's probably going to be a guy and he's probably going to have a black wife. I don't know why. I just feel like you need a black girl cosign, and it's like, we're like, oh, we'll take you.
Okay.
You know what
Interview them both. It's a package deal.
It's a screening process.
Right? I don't know why. I feel like sometimes white girls, not my white girlfriends, but many, get very insulted when you talk shit about white people. But all my white friends don't give a fuck because we all do this shit together. You know what I mean? Like, and we get it. We know which ones we're talking about. But I don't know. I feel like maybe they'd be more sensitive. And I just feel like it's going to be this Bushwick white guy who's, like, probably going to see Wolf's hair and be like, oh, my God, dude, I've been trying to do the same thing. I want to lock my hair up, too. Like, I don't fucking know. I just feel like it'll be that person.
Okay.
But we do need one. Like,
all right. I mean, ask.
Applications are open.
Anybody
listening? What if I got that would be the best.
Oh,
if I got a Jewish guy?
Oh my God.
If you need Jewish guys, I have a list. Do you want a list of Jewish men?
But your list is very different than what she's looking for.
It's very different, but they're all very qualified in other ways.
I feel like if we had a Jewish person working here, oh my God, the books. They'd be like, what do you mean? We're not giving free water anymore? What? They got water outside?
Yeah, you guys do give some nice free water.
I have to say, I don't know if you have a sponsorship deal, but this bottle.
Okay, hold on, not yet. Oh, is that why there's waters in here? Is that why we have a call with them?
Oh, okay, I'll pull it away. We can cut that out.
I got to taste it. But we have been paying, so. Oh, shit, thank you. Everybody talks about that on Google. They're like, they give water bottles, but.
Yeah.
I think that when you have, like, I don't know. I try to think of when I go into a business, like, the things that I like, and that's what I try to do. I hate when someone gives me those fucking cups that are like a cone with water.
Cone cups.
Ugh.
So paper cone cups.
At the dentist office.
What the fuck is this?
They taste like paper. Have you heard of boxed water?
Yeah.
It tastes like paper.
I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite comedians on Instagram, his name's Drewski, and he did this skit where he goes to a Starbucks, and he was, like, trying to act like an LA girl. And he goes, do you guys have boxed water? And the guy's like, no, we have. He was like, ew, no, I need a boxed water. I was like, wow, people really act like that in LA about boxed water.
Apparently so.
I kind of like the taste.
I don't like
Are you down in LA often because of
half and half?
Oh, half and half. Ooh, how do you like it down there? Because you're a New Yorker, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm from Florida, but.
Okay.
So wait, let's get into who is Weezy. So you're
Yeah.
from Florida,
Mm-hmm.
but now you're a New Yorker. You did the reverse migration.
It's fucking embarrassing to tell
Oh,
me
yeah.
you're from Florida. It's really embarrassing. Like, I don't even know why. So I was born in San Fran, and then we moved to Miami, probably because my dad was like, okay, there's a lot of Jews there. But then it was too expensive, so we moved to Orlando. And then I just hated Florida because I felt like, so for one, my parents, if you see them, and I'll give you guys, I don't know how much editing you do, you can put a picture of them up. My mom and my dad together, it's like, what's going on? Sometimes people are like, is that his nurse? Like, what's this black lady doing around? Like, it's confusing as fuck. And they've been together a long time. And his accent is so thick. And, like, my mom's very New York, so she yells at him a lot. So it's like, ooh, is she mistreating him? Like, it's weird. We were literally in a Target the other day. And he was like, oh, Jewel, get me the toothpaste. I have it already. I have it. Shut up. And they're, like, really mean to each other. But they're, like, they love each other. But no, when I was growing up, I just noticed how racially tense things felt all the time. And one, being a black person anywhere in the country, of course, but Florida, I mean, people have, no lie, like, they're some of the least traveled people, right? You've got lower IQs, terrible public schools, so you're just fucked if it's a black and white couple. And then they're looking at me like, ooh, is that your real dad? Like, what's going on? Your mom's a gold digger, just because she was with a white guy, let alone a Jewish guy. But my dad wasn't the rich Jewish guy, which made it worse.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, at least do it right.
We were just totally middle class, and I hated it. All my Jewish friends were so rich. I'm like, we're the poor ones. Like, it was so bad. But because of all of that, I was like, oh, I'm like, this is not where I'm meant to live. Like, I have to move to New York. And my parents were both New
Do you
Yorkers.
have siblings? Sorry to cut you off. Only child. Okay.
But yeah, then that's really where New York like became a destination in my head.
And how young or old were you when you?
I was 24, I think. But it's interesting because like I remember the first week in New York, someone asked my ethnicity, and when I would say black and Israeli in Florida, they're like, is that black in Hebrew? Like, what does that mean? You know, in New York, like, this, like, they didn't even bat an eye. Okay. Like, no one's impressed. No one's, like, thinking it's weird. It's just like, okay, because they've seen people in their lives.
Right.
And I just did not have that experience in Florida. It really sucked. And then Trump was becoming president at the time that, like, I had moved to New York, so it was really nice to be around people that just were, like, not on that team. Whereas, you know, in Florida, and it's funny because New Yorkers that voted for Trump voted for money. In Florida, they're like, we want slavery back. Like, it was crazy as fuck, dude. Like, my mom, I was scared for her to be outside with my dad, you know, because it was just a very weird time. But New Yorkers did not experience that because it's just a different world. So, yeah, the South is nuts.
I mean, so I'm not from here. We talked before. And I've traveled across the United States, but not as much as I would have liked to or would like to in the future. So I don't really understand America in that way. Like, I don't know what the South is. Like, I've been to Texas, I've been to New Orleans, I've been to Florida, but usually they're short work trips. And when people tell me stories like that, I'm really interested and baffled because all I know is New York. And
I know
this is really wrong of me, but I think of America as like a mass coherent block that is New York, and that seems very wrong.
It's interesting too because like, so I'm mixed, right? And I'm light skinned. And when I talk to my black friends here and tell them about moments in high school where I was called the N-word, and I'm not talking about cool N-word in rap, like hard ER. My black friends in New York have never been called it. And I'm just like, how the fuck does that happen to me? Like, sometimes people are confused that I'm black, and you tell me they still did that? Like, yeah, I think that we're just really fortunate to live in a city where, you know, of course racism is everywhere, but like, you know, we're growing up around different cultures. This is a quote unquote melting pot, but like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of small cities in the country where that just doesn't happen. And unfortunately, that's where we see, you know, certain shootings and certain things go on because it's just like, it's this undertone all the time. Yeah. And I think that's also probably why, like, I remember when, I don't know which one of you hit me up to come on. I was like, oh, like, I don't really have too much of an Israeli experience. You know, I mean, it's really the opposite for me because I grew up like a black American girl. There's moments where I forgot sometimes until there'll be like rabbis in the street, you know, they will be trying to get you.
Yeah.
Are you Jewish?
Oh, they could see it from a mile away.
Woo! And it's not even my nose. I don't know what it is.
You have asthma. You literally told us this.
Are you lactose intolerant?
No, I mean, I don't have like the Jewish nose.
Yeah, neither do I.
But they still know. What, asthma's a Jewish thing?
Yeah, we have bad immune systems.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that either, honestly.
Yeah, Jews, we have allergies, we have asthma. Not all of us.
Fuck!
But yeah, you can thank your dad for that one.
But you know what, though? This guy I started dating recently was like, yo, it makes so much sense that you're black and Israeli and you look like you do. He's like, because you look Egyptian to me, and Egyptians are like the black Middle Eastern people, I guess, to like in a lot of people's heads. He's like, so to me, that's where that look is. But when I went to Israel and I saw my cousins, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I didn't realize how dark Israelis were. Like, I was like, some of them look like me. Like, I didn't feel so out of place. And a lot of black Jews are there because they're Ethiopian. So, yeah, I mean, I had a whole new experience definitely when I went to Israel, too.
I mean, how black Jews are and how white Jews are. Not white as in ethnically, but like color. Like, same for Egyptians. My mom, I had this really funny friend in high school. She saw my mom for the first time. She's like, why is your mom white? Because my mom is just really pale. And, you know, we're from Egypt, so you'd think she was a little bit more like olive or closer to my skin tone. But the diversity of looks and skin colors in the region really varies on where you are.
Well, we were talking before about like 23andMe, where I'm 92.6% Middle East, North Africa. And I was like, where? Like, I don't see it. And it's just crazy how, like, where you think about
all from your spit.
Ah, there it is. But also, my mom, for example, my mom is blonde hair, blue-eyed. Both of her sisters are dark, straight from Lebanon. Like, you look at them and you're like, you are straight from Lebanon. And then you look at my mom and they have similar features, right? Like, similar, like, eye shapes, similar, like, but they're just different colors. They're like a,
you know in
like
my head what that
Barbies?
is?
How it's like the
That's
same
when
mold, but
people
different?
call the Kardashians like white women.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but they are, but then they aren't. And that's really like the Middle Eastern, like, quote unquote difference from like color and shade. Because when you watch Shaws of Sunset, I feel like I'm watching a Middle Eastern, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, they are. But then when I see the Kardashians, but also maybe they just changed themselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the Kardashians, like I feel like if you take your nails and you just scratch, like, there'll be some color in their nails. So it's just like, it's a matter of what are they wearing that day, you know?
No, I mean, like, remember Kim's eyebrows, the way her face looked? She was like Princess Jasmine to me, which also is something apparently that's problematic to say.
Yeah, but no.
It's okay.
But she does have that look. Yeah.
They're Armenian.
Yeah, they're Armenian.
Armenian.
They're Armenian. So they're definitely Middle Eastern. And actually Armenians, I like when I was watching like the Kardashians, I was like, oh, they kind of look like my aunts. Like in my head, which is very funny. So and like another thing, like just like talking about like colorism, right? And like, you know, just seeing people's color. When people look at my mom and her sisters, my mom happens to be born in Canada, right? Because my family went through Canada to get to Mexico. And my aunts were born in Mexico. But they were literally born, like, you know, regular years apart from each other. It's the same two parents and everything. And they're like, oh, well, your mom's Canadian. That's why. And it's like, that makes no difference.
I mean, it's interesting, too, because it's like when you think of your family and, like, the different colors, like, all in your family, like, my family pictures look nut. Like, it's very confusing. Yeah. Like, my dad is in his 80s, my mom's in her 70s, right? So, like, already you see me and I'm young, but everybody else looks old. But, like, why are there no kids in there? But why is there a baby there? Like, everybody looks fucked up. Like, we all have our own fucked up version of our family, I swear. But, like, I know what you mean. Like, I watch certain TV shows. I'm like, they look like this person, they look like that person. But, yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool to have a blend.
Yeah. Speaking of fucked, let's talk about horrible decisions and sex cells, right? On Fuse. Can you just, this is a very, you probably don't think about it because it's just your life. This is very unconventional career choice.
Yeah, I know.
Tell us like how you ended up there and why and how you're navigating it.
So when I moved to New York, I was working for a company at the time, like a telecommunications company. And I was like, well, they loved me. So I'm like, great, move me here. So I worked as like an account executive / sales engineer for them. And in the middle of it, I was kind of bored. I was like, you know, and I was having all these sexcapades, right? Because I moved to New York and I'm like the new girl on Tinder. And I ran into an old friend of mine who my co-host now, Mandy. We hadn't met in years. And she was working for Goldman Sachs, and I'm like, oh my God, we're like whores. But,
the Goldman Sachs.
But like we still have good jobs. Oh, the Goldman Sachs, right?
The Goldman Sachs.
That's why he wasn't the Jewish girl working there. So we're like, we should do a podcast. So it started as two corporate women talking about sex. And to me, I think it got so popular because the only other black sex podcast at the time was Lip Service with Angela Yee, who's from The Breakfast Club. Mm-hmm. No one's heard of Angela Yee, but she's so famous that I think, like, Angela Yee to me is like she is Radio Hall of Fame. She's not to me, sorry. But she's so larger than life that, like, you know, she's an interviewer. So she's not necessarily being like, yeah, I fucked this guy and did X, Y, Z. Maybe she does do stuff like that, but we won't hear her talk about it. And I think it was that you got to see normal people because she was already a celebrity when she made the show. And I think that's really what kind of got it popping. And then being known as a sex personality during the pandemic, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be broke because we were on tour and like I'm about to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we're fucked. So I moved to Mexico and I started
American way.
I started in gentrification. I started working on something else that had to do with sex. And so I made sex sells with a friend of mine. And I remember I was talking to Forbes. Actually, Forbes got it in my head. Forbes hit me up to host a show, interviewing people that left the sex industry. And they were going to call it Sexit. And I was like, this is great, but this is going to make me look bad because I can't be on one platform talking about how sex is amazing, but then interviewing you about why you left because it's going to look like I'm glorifying the way out. So can't do that. So then my friend at Fuse and I, his name's Brandon, he was like, fuck that. Like, let's just make our own. We'll celebrate the business of sex and the legal sex industry. And so that's what Sex Sales says now. I don't know if Fuse knows I know this, but I heard it was the most watched show on the network, which I will take it. They put me on the elevator there. It felt like a fucking billboard. Like, I'm so excited about that. Yeah. I was crying. I was in there, like, just doing studio work. No one told me I was on there. Apparently, it had been months. I just walked by it, and I was like, is that my face? Now, are there 15 other faces on it? Yes. But it felt really good. And, like, I want to say this without, like, sounding so... this feels very snooty to say, but...
Be snooty. We love people.
And Wolf was in the car. He was sleeping. And the woman that manages our studio, her name's Tiana, but she's also my assistant. And we're in the car. Wolf's in the back. My best friend's in the back. Wolf's doing our video. My best friend is our tour manager. His name's Vinny. And we're on the way to the Roots Picnic, which is a huge black music festival. And I was like, holy shit, I'm about to perform at this. I just left yesterday doing the last rap day of my season 2 for my TV show, but I'm about to go and do this music festival for my podcast, and I just left my apartment in LA and then stopped at my apartment in New York, and like I had to keep myself from crying. Meanwhile, while my assistant and I are talking and making jokes about stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, all these people I work with, like I really love. And I know everybody hates their job, but like fuck, I feel bad to be so happy. And like, yeah, I can't believe this all happened from like being good at sex.
Okay, hold on. Let's
My father did not want this for me, I'm sure, but he's proud.
That's a question I have, but you felt bad for feeling happy. Can we dig into that a little? We're all about, about our emotions, yeah.
I think that, like, there's little things in my life that sound so snooty. Like, I didn't know how to explain when people say, where do I live? Like, I really do live both places, right? Like, I have 2 rents. Do I want to buy? Yeah, but the market's crazy. But anyway, like, yeah, I really do have 2 places that I live, and I split time in between. And I have 2 studios now. We have a studio in LA. It's in Hollywood. Like, and everyone that works here, I love them. Like, I just feel really lucky. And I mean, yes, I know I work hard, but the guilt, I think, comes from sometimes, like, you're like, do I deserve this? Like, I think everybody that gets blessings in life might feel like that, but... yeah, I don't know. It just, like, really hit me hard.
Yeah.
And it was just the reality of it. Because, like, I've really been broke. So I was just kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
The only thing you're missing is a bodega or a restaurant that you're living
yeah, up next.
Then you'll make
honestly, I might meet someone that owns one. That's mine.
No, I really wanted to dig into that because that's a feeling I get all the time. And I feel so lucky and blessed. And we talk about this all the time. Like, I come from literally nothing. Like, my village still does not have running water. I was supposed to be, like, I grew up, I wasn't supposed to go to school, I barely knew how to read and write, I was supposed to be married off like every other Arab girl. My grandmas don't know how to read and write because they never went to school, they were married off at 12. And now I get to sit here with you on a couch and we talk about this stuff, and I get to go to our job.
Our lives are so weird.
Like, it's just, God is real.
But you know what, that's like the internet though, you got so much access to shit.
Yeah.
Like, you like, everybody is just a touch away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, like, sometimes when I have conversations with people too, and I think maybe that's what's different from me, maybe sometimes from either you'll meet maybe a peer, just a person out, and you're like, oh, this could be different. And I'm sure you ladies think this way too, obviously, because you have a podcast, right? But I was sitting with like someone, I was in the Netflix building, and they were like pointing at a house that was really far in the hills. And they're like, that's probably like $20 million. Like, damn, one could dream. And I was like, like, I don't really...
You could dream.
Like, I'm not saying I have $20 million, but I was like, I remember when I thought $1 million was a lot. And, like, now I'm just like, is it really? Mm. Like, you know, is 20 million that fucking crazy? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'll end up having. I didn't fucking think I'd have this. So I can't even say that won't happen to me. So there's, like, nothing that really feels that crazy out of reach. Yeah. And I think as long as we think like that, you know, and at first it starts in steps. Because, no, maybe 5 years ago I didn't think that would happen. I could afford that house. Or, I mean, obviously I can't now, but you know what I'm saying. 5 years ago it was like, I can't believe I'm working with this person. Then it became, I can't believe this is my job. Then it was like, I can't believe I got hired on to do this, or this person recognized me. Like, it happens in steps, and I believe that's like all of our trajectory when you really have that type of mindset.
Yeah, and the opposite side of that coin is like not feeling you deserve the things you have, and I'm trying to lean into this a little bit more recently, is I can do anything. And, like, to a fault almost, like, the way I found you, and I told this to you over the phone, is I'm a big fan of Flagrant 2, and I'm a big fan of Andrew Schultz, and his rise to success and his fame, and he has this, like, little monologue he did a last show at Radio City Hall. He's like,
you went?
I wasn't there, unfortunately, I couldn't get tickets, but he has this monologue where he's just like, if you say the craziest thing that you want to happen. Just say it out loud, because your brain starts to find a way to that goal. Mm-hmm. Just say it out loud.
That's great.
As crazy as it sounds. And I just started saying crazy stuff. Like, things that don't make sense, things that seem unachievable and so far away. And, like, I have a funny joke that I do with my friends. It's a little bit of a joke, but 90% true. Like, I come from nothing. I wasn't supposed to have any of the things that I have right now, so what's stopping me? Like, if I wanted to be the best NFL football player tomorrow, I could figure it out. I could do it. And it's a little bit absurd.
Since you like Flagrant 2, you sound like Andrew with the heart surgery. Have you ever heard Andrew say that? I hate when he says that. Well, it's not that hard.
Yeah, I could figure it out. I think I could figure out whatever I want to do. I don't want to be. If I did, I could figure it out.
Yeah, so I think you have a point. Actually, I went for an interview for an internship a couple of months ago. And I'm sitting there, and, you know, I'm interviewing, and he's like, well, where do you see yourself, 5, 10 years from now? And I sat down, so I'm a paper planner person. So I pulled out my paper planner, and I said, well, I actually have a 30-year plan. And I start walking him through it. And, of course, it ends with, and after, taking time off, I'm going to write my book, go on my book tour to do soft campaigning, and then I'm going to run for Senate. And he goes, okay, this is an internship. And I was like, yes, but you asked. And yes, I know it's all ambitious, but I think it's important to have goals, especially goals that are far away. Because if not, then what are you working towards? Yeah. Because I could tell you where I think I'm going to be 5 years from now, but that's not very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where I thought I'd be, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, I really don't. I work for a really big movie director now, and that's why I'm half in LA. And, like, it's crazy because once I made the studio, my, like, mindset changed. And I think with Alex, too. Like, he got really emotional with me recently. Damn, maybe it was you, Wolf. I think you randomly sent a text message, or someone randomly sent a text about how they loved working with us. Was that you? And it was really random. Me and him were out having a drink together. And he did start to cry. And he was like, yo, like, we can never stop doing this because people are paying their rent with us. Like, we can't. This means every move we make, like, it has to be good because they have to grow, because this is what we owe people now. So this is what happened to us. So, like, this is our job now. Our job is to, like, do what people did for us. Yeah. So now my brain works like that, right? So ever since I've started working his name's Kenya Barris, and people know him for making Blackish and Grownish. And ever since I started working for him, I've found ways in my head to hire everyone else. Now that I'm in a hiring position in another world, like, that's just all I can think about. So I don't really know my 30-year plan. I feel like all I want to do is just keep building a team, because things are falling in my lap. So as long as I just keep everyone else growing, like, that's it. Like, that really makes me feel good. And not in an egotistical way, more than I almost feel like it's like a duty now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
That's so selfless, in fact.
But
the opposite.
But I don't even know if it is all the way, because it's like, I feel like someone did this for me, so, like, now it's my job. But I'm still growing. Because, like, if he wasn't good, you wouldn't be here, right? If you had a bad session with him the first time, you wouldn't come back. So, like, that's not really selfless. Like, I really got to, like, lean on him and be good, because I kind of need the money. So, You guys are paying for my LA apartment, probably. I have to be good. This is selfless. What is it?
So I hear echoes of two people right now. I hear echoes, number one, of my grandpa, because he also, like, when he started hiring people for his company, because he started also from nothing, he was selling scraps of textiles door to door. And then he started going in Mexico, because that's how it is. And then when he became an employer and he started employing other people to sell textiles, that's when he said, we're not just responsible for us and our family, we're responsible for everyone else. And that's what I'm hearing there, which, not that you're a grandfather, but welcome to being a grandfather.
I mean, I've been called daddy before.
Yeah, oh, well, granddaddy?
No. But,
That'll be a first.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
But second, I feel like I hear that a lot also from my mom, because she says that her greatest success is us. Yeah. So like my mom wasn't able to go to college right after high school. My mom got engaged at 17, right? But she had 4 children. And her goal, when she told me when I was 12 years old, was you're going to go to college and you're going to work. And yes, you can get married, you can have whatever you want and everything, but you have to make sure that you have these opportunities. You have to go to school and you have to learn. And of course, we can talk about education inflation, and that's a whole entire thing. But it's one of those things that my mom looks at all of her kids, my brother, me, my sister, got into Princeton. That day, my mom cried, and she has a very high accent. She started hysterically crying. She goes, my daughter goes to an Ivy League. And I was like, yep. So
that's
my mom
crazy.
feels like she's a Princeton mom.
Honestly, when I meet people that have been to a Princeton or Harvard, like, to me, that's like, whoa.
You can meet my sister. She's 19. She's really fun.
Yo, seriously though, like, you have to think about how, like, on the high, like, upper echelon that is. I was sitting next to, and I felt guilty, but not guilty. I felt, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't want to validate what these other people were thinking, but I was in an airport lounge with this young black girl who just got a FaceTime, and they were screaming about her getting into Harvard.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I could hear it. And everybody else at the bar is like, not young, they're like old white people, like maybe 60s old. And the way they all looked at her, like they had to know more. And I was so excited about it. So I feel like now we're all hyping it up, needing to know the questions. But there's 2 things happening here. I'm looking at this girl like I'm feeling so proud and, oh my God, like I don't even know you, but it just feels like you're looking at a little sister. And yeah, it's crazy to see a black person going to Harvard. That's not very common. Then on the other side, it was just like, like I figured you out while you're sitting here. And then someone else said, what about your parents? Did they go there too? Like, oh.
Like, are you a legacy?
And then one woman said, you're so tall. Is your dad an athlete?
No.
I was like, yo, this was months ago too. And I'll never forget that girl's face. And she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And she never came back. And I was like, oh my God, bro. But for real, like your mom, I can't imagine if that happened to me with one of my kids. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think that I'm going to have 2 kids. One's going to be dumb. One's going to be okay.
No.
I really think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to let one, it's going to be like Montessori school. He's just going to figure it out. And then
I went to Montessori school when I was very, very young. And then when I went to college, I went to build your own major program. So Montessori stays with you and it leads to success. I'm a very big proponent of the Montessori.
What is it? So you just do nothing?
No, you don't do nothing. Well, I mean, when you're little kids.
Well, we should tell people what it is. Because some people never heard of it.
I have no idea what it is.
Montessori is the idea that not everyone learns in the same way. So
wait, you tell us the real definition.
I don't know the real definition.
So I'm going to tell you what I thought I heard Montessori school was.
Okay.
I was walking around with one of my friends in Silver Lake. And we're passing the Shakespeare Bridge, and there's this school. He was like, yo, you know what that is? That's a fucking Montessori school. I was like, what is that? He was like, that's where they go in there, and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And you know that's some white people shit. I was like, it is some white people shit. I was like, so they don't learn anything? They just go in there. Kids want to fuck around? They just fuck around. And I was like, yo. I was like, so how do they learn? How do they learn how to count and shit? Like, how does this shit exist? He's like, I don't know. They probably follow the pack, but it's 2 motherfuckers in there ain't doing shit. And I was like, yo. But then I Google it, and it pretty much says that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So is there no teacher?
No, so there is a teacher, but it's less of a teacher and more of a guide.
Okay.
I went to Montessori preschool.
Crazy.
I was a child, and I was in Mexico, so it's not a white people thing. It could also be brown people. All people come Montessori.
That shocked me. I was about to say, was this in Mexico?
Yeah, this was in Mexico. So I went to Montessori school when I was very, very young, and it's again, I don't know how it works in preschool, but it's more like they let us play in whatever way we wanted to play. But then when I went to college, I went to NYU Gallatin. And Gallatin is literally they call it Build-A-Bear. It's a build your own major school. So I was studying Middle Eastern politics, and then I was also doing Latin American studies and Judaic studies and law and society, and I was doing all these different things. And I wanted to add a third minor, and they're like, you can't have a third minor. I'm like, I want a third minor. They're like, you can't even really have two. You can't have three. And I was like, then I'm going to go and build my own major. And I did. And at Gallatin, you have like a professor that's like your guide. He's like your advisor. And they open all of NYU schools to you. And you pick and choose the classes that make sense for your individualized major. So I studied diaspora structures. What does it mean to be part of a community that's here but elsewhere? What is identity? I studied migration patterns. So I got to take Portuguese, Arabic, and Hebrew. I got to take everything that was interesting to me. And then I got to do an oral colloquium about what I learned and the major I created, which is essentially Montessori. So a lot of kids, they're going to take advantage of it.
Bill Gates went to one.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, look at that.
I Googled it. And I was like, this shit ain't real.
You're really into this.
Yo, we were sitting there for 15 minutes. So in LA, you see the Scientology buildings a lot?
Yeah.
That's what I felt like we were watching. I was like, oh shit, they coming out. The kids coming out. I don't know what I thought the kids were going to look like. No, but it was crazy to me. So wait, the teacher's a guide.
Yeah.
So how do you pass?
So I know that there's older Montessori schools. I went to preschool, so as long as you're not eating glue, you pass preschool. So I'm not really sure. Again, with me, I was maybe 4 years old, and all I remember was having fun. I was enjoying what I was doing, beat to my own drum.
So I got into a really deep conversation about Montessori schools that was interesting. So I start repeating that conversation about being out with that guy at dinner that night. She's like, well, if we take it back for a second, let's think about how we treat black kids and what we congratulate them for. If black kids are sitting upright and they don't talk and their hands are on their lap the whole time, what do we say? You've got a great kid, right? She's like, but do you have a really good kid if they're so submissive and scared to do anything? Like, are they too subordinate? And are we raising black people to be scared of shit, right? And it was a great point. She's like, when I go out with my white friends, maybe their kids play and explore a little bit. She's like, they're not rowdy and out of control. But my son would never do that. He doesn't even think he could leave the table to play with crayons because he's like, I'll wait till my mom tells me. Which in my head, too, I'm like, that's a great mom. But she's like, that really isn't, the best thing for kids. Like, are we, so scared and, are black people scared themselves and teaching our kids how to be subordinate? Like, is this a part of, almost critical race theory in a way? Like, are we, teaching kids how to just stay alive by doing that because we're so terrified? And I was like, yo, if there was a black Montessori school, how would it go? Because seriously, a black teacher's gonna fucking lose it if you don't listen. I can't even imagine what it would be like. But I mean, no, there is a joke in the white people shit, but also when she said that to me, it was so interesting because black Americans are so fucking different with their kids because you have so much to worry about. I mean, we're almost training them to be scared constantly. You know what I'm saying? Not that you shouldn't be scared because, police are shooting unarmed black men and women. But, yeah, it's all we see. It's, in our face. Yeah. So it's you want to make sure your kids are this type of way. And it's crazy because what is the right way to parent?
So the funny thing is, people always be Latina moms be and Arab moms be and Jewish moms be and I got a Jewish, Latina, Arab mom. So she'd just be and that was, my mom's way of parenting when I was younger was very different from her parenting now. So I compare the way my brother and I grew up, we were both born in Mexico, to the way that my two sisters who are Gen Z US borns grew up. And for example, my brother and I did not talk back. If we didn't finish our food, my mom would take a belt and, she would belt us to the table and we would finish our food. And if you didn't finish it, you'd have it for breakfast. And that's fine.
Damn.
Yes. Not in a child abuse way. Everything's wonderful. Everything's great.
No, I have some friends that they had to go through some shit like that too with eating for breakfast. Yeah.
100%. And then my youngest sister, my mom would be like, you have to go to sleep. And she'd be like, no. Yeah. What? My brother and I have had conversations where we're like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear what she said? There was no such thing as that. And now the issue is that now my mom, she loses her patience because before she had patience with me and my brother, we never talked back, but if we did, she'd have patience. So now my sister talks back, and then my mom just yells back, and they go into a whole back and forth. We talked about.
How old's your mom?
She's 48.
So your mom's probably going through menopause while you're no lie.
Yeah.
That's what made my mom so she apologized to me all the time. My mom is an amazing mom, but we were fighting a lot when I was a teenager. And we talk about it now, and she's like, I would never recommend anyone have kids older because you have no patience because you're going through fucking menopause.
Oh, shit.
It's so hard for older moms. Like, it's a blessing you could have kids in your 40s and your late 30s, great, but the menopause and puberty, boop, I don't know how old your sister is.
Yeah, she's 15.
I'm telling you, it's bad.
It's not good. They're screaming. But it's differences in parenting, because for my sister, she's allowed to do whatever she wants. And then she also feels like she has less control of things, as opposed to, like, I was very structured. And, like, I wanted to study science, like, I wanted to study forensic psychology, and my mom said no. She didn't give me a lot of limits. Like, she told me, go to college, but not outside of New York, right? Like, I had some limits, but I was allowed to explore. My other youngest sister, like, my mom's like, yeah, maybe she should apply to schools in California.
I mean, look,
like,
you went to Princeton, so.
No, yeah, not that one.
I went on a few dates with this Nigerian guy who's a chemical engineer, and he's like, do you have siblings? I said no, and he told me about his siblings. One's a doctor, one's a lawyer. I was like, damn, your mom must be so proud. He was like, it ain't like we had a fucking option, okay? She was like, we going to do this, and this.
Yeah,
this is it. So, like, it's a new era, but I ain't gonna lie. We probably should be grateful. My mom definitely fucked up. That's probably what I was.
How do they feel about what you do?
I didn't really understand how proud my mom was of me until a recent moment. My dad calls me Dr. Ruth. Oh, my daughter, she Dr. Ruth. Everybody listen. She talk about this sex. He's like so proud of me. Like, he's just so
That's a
proud.
great Israeli accent.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's what he sounds like. Every time he calls me, it's your father.
Like, you don't know who he is.
I hate it. And this is so morbid to think about, but, like, I just lost my grandmother. And so I think about when our parents die, like, what we'll have of them, what we'll remember. And a lot of my friends are older, so their parents are dying. It's sad. But I think about that. I'm like, I'm going to have so many voicemails of my father saying, Gila, it's your dad. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to, like, play them on a loop. Like, it's so interesting how Israeli accents, like, woof. But so he always calls me Dr. Ruth. My mom and I went to, I think it's called Eddie V's in Orlando. We went to eat somewhere. And there's this girl from school that I always wanted to be like. She was white, really rich, and, like, I don't know if I wanted to be like her. Maybe she was, like, the cool girl in school. I say I wanted to be like her, but I feel like that's what all kids want, right? You're jealous of someone in school. And we sat next to her mother, who recognized us, of course. I was only, whatever. Anyway, she's like, oh, you're Gila, and you're Jewel. She remembered. And she said, you know, I don't want to say the girl's name, but she's like, you know, she's a doctor now. And we're just so proud. And what do you do? And I was about to say I work in production, because that's what I do when I just don't want to talk. And my mom was like, okay, that's good. Like, your daughter. She goes, Gila talks about sex. And she's got this big show, and she has a TV show, and she owns a studio. Oh, and she's in New York, and everybody knows her. And she walks down the street, and everybody knows her. I mean, you know, if we went to a place downtown, people would ask us for pictures. And that's what's going on with her. But it's good to hear about your daughter.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, wow, like,
God bless.
it was really nice, because to me, my mom, I would imagine it's not that easy to say your daughter talks about sex for a living. But I think there was a point where it became real. And my job became real, right? Like, oh, you do this podcast, but now it's a fucking job for real, right? Like, and I think when your parents start to see your dreams and your passions as, like, actual money makers, they're like, okay, it clicked. And I know it's got to be hard for some people that are, like, you know, influencers who are making TikToks, and all these kids that are making hundreds of $1,000s. Your mom's probably like, what the fuck are you going to do at 25? Like, you're 18 now doing dances, but then what? Or musicians. Like, I can't imagine creatives trying to convince a parent that, you know what I mean, this is for me. Because I became an entertainer at 25 years old. So I had already, you know, done corporate life and kind of got that seal of approval from my parents. But yeah, I can't imagine, because it does feel good to know my parents are proud.
Wow. That's really moving.
Yeah, you guys should have your moms on this show.
Yeah, well,
my mom doesn't know what I do at all. Like, real-time job, like 9 to 5, that they don't know anything about me. And I wonder if, like, that's a part of, I mean, I'm an immigrant, so there's, like, a big disconnect between.
Say radio.
But this isn't even my job. We just do this for fun. Like,
yeah, but, like,
real jobs.
My mom would just say, my daughter fights anti-Semitism.
Yeah, and that's, yeah. But, okay, I have so many things we need to get back to. Do you want to have children? Because, okay, tell us about that.
I do want to give birth to my own child, just because I feel like that's a milestone, which I know some people don't believe in artificial insemination, whatever, but I don't know. I will say I'm 31, 35 is coming soon. If I'm not in a relationship where I think I'll have kids by then, I'm definitely going to have a kid with my best friend, Vinny. So don't care how that happens. I mean, well, definitely. I mean, but I don't care. I don't want to have sex with him, but I mean, like, don't care, like, how is in, like, you know, I don't know where we'll live or what'll go on. I'm really cool with whatever. But yeah, I've always wanted to be a mom. And I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to slow down my life a little bit so that I could plant the seeds to where that does work. Like, my studio should be a full production house in 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Like, nobody that's working here today should even be making close to the same, because I feel like everybody should be full-time and a salary that they're happy with. Like, that's what I want. You know what I mean? I want you to watch a TV show or listen to something or see on the bottom of every big podcast, like, produced by WTF Media. Like, that's what I want. And here goes selfishness again. If I do that, I ain't really got work to do. So I've talked about all this dick sucking for years to lay down the seeds. But yeah, that's what I want. I want to kind of just like slow down podcasting and be able to produce them so that I can have a kid.
So I'm a pretty like conservative person, lowercase c. Like, I feel very ashamed, and it might be the immigrant in me. Like, I feel very like even this is very promiscuous for me, like what I'm wearing right now. And you seem like such an open person. Like, was there ever a moment where you were closed off and then you're at this very freeing moment, or have you always been this way?
No, I think I have to give it to my mom, right? So my dad is definitely a conservative person, but my mom, so if anyone knows about San Francisco, it's like all the gays are there. And I don't really have a connection to San Francisco. I left when I was like 5, but, you know, my mom is, I don't know if it's a very problematic term, the F word, right? Hag, that hag. Oh, yeah. People call my mom a hag all the time. Like, all her friends were gay men when I was growing up. I think, like, I had a godfather, and he was a drag queen. Like, all of her friends were gay, right? So just seeing that had me open to sexuality and understanding it. And then also being bi, being able to explore that young. Like, my first kiss was a girl, things like that. And, like, knowing it was okay, you kind of feel this freedom.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really feel... I mean, I know I've said fuck a lot, probably more than you may say on this podcast, right? But, like, for me, I don't really have not a filter more than I don't really care. If I've, like, decided to be in a space where people understand I'm there, then I'm going to talk however I want. And that's been the cool thing about being Weezy more than Gila, right? It's like, oh, if I'm sitting down next to someone in a restaurant, maybe I won't talk this openly and free. But, like, if someone understands who I am, don't give a fuck. So now that I have a 9-to-5 again, right? I run a podcast division for Kenya Barris, and it's through Audible. So I'm on calls all the time with Amazon, Audible, running this shit, like, doing all these deals. And it's funny because, like, my email is Weezy at his company, right? And I don't give a fuck on the calls at all. Like, when I was working for the other places for 8 years, like, I was definitely more tidy. But now
corporate
I'm like,
voice.
dude, like, you can Google me and see, like, literally I'm talking about going down on a girl and all this crazy shit. So, like, why do I care about trying to, like, be this person that I'm really not?
Yeah.
You know? And that's what I love about at least the industry I'm in now. Even with having employees, right? Like, being able to admit that, like, I fuck up with things or forgetting to pay. Like, no lie. We don't have, like, a payroll system, so I have to use, like, electronic payment, which means that after they invoice me on payday, that I have to immediately answer it and pay. Yo, I be forgetting. And I feel terrible that someone has to ask me for money, because that's not a good feeling. Hey, can you pay me? And I try to make sure everybody understands this open door and that I'm learning too. But, like, all of those little mistakes are kind of like real things about learning how to be this person. And through that, I think it's just being open, like knowing that I can be open and honest about who I am. Like, yeah, I think I have always been this way.
Are Weezy and Gila two different people?
No, I think it's just like an extension.
Yeah. Do you code switch when you're Gila versus Weezy? Are there any separations?
I think I code switch sometimes. Like, it's funny, I've seen comments where people are like, oh, she's got a black scent on here, now she sounds like XYZ here. But, like, there's a few different things that happen. I think this is my natural speaking voice, but whatever. But, like, if I get really hood for a moment, it's just because I'm around someone that either takes me back to a place of where I'm from, right? Florida's ghetto as fuck. So my co-host and I are both from Florida. So when we get together, it's like, are we even speaking English? We sound like Kodak Black. Like, it gets intense. But it's not that it's fake more than this is really, like, a point in my life, and it's a place I can go to, right? It's kind of like when I'm with Sophia, I get another octave sometimes.
Oh my God. I hate to bring academics into this, but I did a whole linguistic anthropology project on Upspeak.
What? Yeah, tell me about that.
On Upspeak and Vocal Fry. So there's actually a lot of reasons behind them, and I don't want to get too academic, but this is what going to a Montessori
this is interesting.
is like. So Upspeak is like when you end things almost like questions, and the reason why is because women typically weren't listened to. So instead they end with a question. That way you feel like there's something else coming up next, and it keeps other people on their toes. Yeah. And then we have Vocal Fry, which is the opposite. When you want to command a room, you lower your voice and you start talking like this because it's closer to what a man sounds like.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I was in a sorority, so I actually used my sorority as my guide. So I realized when are they upspeaking and when are they vocal frying, and it was the executive board when they were trying to relay information to the greater group.
I can't wait to fucking repeat this on Horrible Decisions.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
There it is. That's what happens when you take an academic, put her in a sorority, and next thing you know, you've got a
This
great
is why you need friends with smart people. Yo, but no lie, like, I don't know if we adapt on purpose or
accent matching. It's a thing.
It is weird.
Yeah. So my little sisters make fun of me and my brother because we accent match. I guess we grew up, right, we were born in Mexico. We all speak Spanish, but my brother and I definitely speak way more Spanish than they do, and especially to my mom, right? So, and my mom has a super heavy accent. And sometimes like we'll be talking to someone or like a waiter or like anything, and like my sisters will just like start laughing at me and my brother, and they're like, why are you talking like this? And we're like, what? And we don't even realize we accent match. Like, I'll get into, like, you know, I don't know, like a cab or something. I'll be like, can you please take me uptown? And, like, I don't even realize I'm doing it.
Oh, I literally wanted to kill my mother. And where the fuck were we? She came to my apartment that's been getting renovated for months. And the guy was doing something. And she goes, he was Mexican. She goes, can you fix the light?
She accent match.
And I was
this
like,
is part of linguistic.
This is so fucking racist.
I know, but
but I be doing it too. Yo, Vinny gets on me all the time because I'm like, if we go to a restaurant where there's a busboy, I'm like, okay, please.
It's natural. It's actually a natural thing because you want to be understood the way you get understood.
So bad because all I do is drag white people to death when they're like cis and homegrown and they do this thing with me.
Not that trick.
I hate that shit. And maybe not, you know what, it's like, I don't know, but some people do it to me and it's like, I hate that so much. Okay, girl. And I'm like,
It doesn't work when I do it, so I don't even try.
No,
I know, I stay away.
But you know what though, you don't have to. Like, I think I don't like to speak for all black people, but I could do it on this one. Everybody feels way more comfortable when you're just yourself. And I joke a lot. You've probably maybe even heard on episodes we joke about having white guests. I think the only reason people have enjoyed our white guests is because they don't try. Andrew, Leah McSweeney, Sophia Franklin, like those white people are not giving a fuck that you're in this quote unquote black-owned studio, black podcast. Like all of that just goes away for them because they're like, I'm just really like, I'm going to be who the fuck I am. And I actually really love that about Andrew too. Like, what did he say to me one time? I was with one of my friends. His name's Sharonis Jackson. He's a black actor. He's on Insecure. He's known for Insecure. And it's me, him, and another black dude and Andrew in a diner. And we started saying something. I think one of us said nigga, and Andrew goes, all right. I don't want to do black talk anymore. Like, I'm out of it now.
Like he was done with it.
Like, fuck, now you guys are leaving me out. But he didn't need to jump in and try. He just could have stood and listened. All right, whatever, dude. So anyway, and like, that to me, when white people like don't give a fuck, because really, we try to assimilate. Yeah. And white people trying to do it is the worst. Very please. Cringe. So we don't care how much rap you know. Just shut up.
How much rap.
Right? But like we had on Hannah Berner, who I love, and he's her husband says to me, Des Bishop, which I really like him too. He goes, "Oh, I'm so excited. Black people love me. You know, everybody ever tell you I'm a good rapper? I'm like, don't fucking say
No, he didn't say that.
Yes, but he really was like, he's also leaning in because he knows how awkward and uncomfortable it is. I'm like, I don't feel like it's gonna cross the woke girls that listen to me, bro. But I get it. Like, it really gets weird and like. Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about it with accent matching with like myself, but I guess that's what white people have been doing to me for a while.
Yeah, you've been accent matched.
Shit.
Okay, but here's the double edge, the other side of the sword, whatever. The other side of the coin is I grew up in Ridgewood, Queens, and I had moved. When we moved from Egypt, that's where I grew up, and it was a lot of Puerto Ricans, Egyptians, and Koreans.
I didn't know there was a lot of Egyptians in
Yeah, there's a big Coptic church there. There's a lot of Egyptians everywhere.
Okay.
Don't know them. We assimilate pretty well. But I don't know. And then I went to high school in like the most diverse the most diverse high school in New York, where whites were the minority. It was Albanians, Arabs, Latinos, and we all like became each other in a way, like the melting pot thing, where we talked like each other. So they would make fun of the Arabs, we'd make fun of the Puerto Ricans would make fun of us, and it was a very safe space. But now I feel like if you try to do that, or if you try to explain what that is, even like I'm doing it very poorly now, it might come off as like cringe or racist or bad.
There's a happy medium, and I don't really know how to explain it yet.
Yeah.
But it's almost like certain comics, right? When you're doing something for like what's the factor called? Shock factor, like it gets weird and awkward, which is why I really don't like Joe Rogan's comics, like, because like him forcing someone to say it, or like even him on stage, like there's a clip of Joe Rogan saying nigger like 10 times, like boom, 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 just trying to get you to react. Like that's not funny. It's weird, right? But like also we could talk about Andrew. Like people have wrote me, like black women, like can't believe you're friends with this guy, and I'm not gonna front. Like some of his jokes, I'd be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm so uncomfortable and I don't know what to do, but I think that we will get to a point where we can make fun of each other again.
Yeah.
Like, it hasn't happened yet because we are in a weird time. Like, you know, for example, when Trump got elected and there was a Muslim ban, you just really can't make Muslim jokes right now. We can't fuck with Mexicans right now. That's just what it is. After George Floyd, everybody needs a break. So we need to recycle, like, who's sensitive or not.
It's like a wheel, like who's on top now.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
That's why, like, having a little bit of a Karen joke here and there, as much as it's funny, or why people may feel the heat, like everyone kind of needs it, because you know they feel like they've been the butt of a joke or something like that. Like, and I think like there is a sensitivity because we're all becoming so awake to the things that are happening, right? So like, no, it's not easy to hear jokes about certain people, but also like I feel like we all have like our team where we can do that. Like my white friends that make black jokes at me, like I feel like I'm the safe space where they can do that.
Yeah.
Like we went to this place called Gigi's on Sycamore. It's a really fancy French restaurant. And there was a chicken on the menu that was $70 with truffle on it. I was like, damn, like I want to get it, but like I can't. I was the only black person at the table. And there's sea bass and albacore and all the duck. And I was like, please don't let me get the chicken. And my friend was like, fuck you, like, I'll just fucking do it, dude. Like, it's not that serious. Like, would you tell me you don't want to order the watermelon margarita either? I was like, I don't, but I want it. She ordered my food. And we're laughing about it. And like, I was like, yo, it's a real fucking thing where you don't want to be that person. And we're able to joke about it. And like, there was a table across from us that we noticed their reaction. She was like, oh my God, I have to go over there and explain now that I have a black friend and that we're in on the joke together. Because now I look like the racist bitch. And I was like, it's true. Like, you really can only do this in your box.
Yeah.
Other than that, no.
Well, I mean, I know, for example, like when this episode comes out, people are going to be like, wow, you're talking about Jews having allergies and Jews being good with money, and Adela just sits there.
Get the fuck out of here, bro.
She purports to fight anti-Semitism, but she
But you can do it. You're Jewish, yo.
Yeah, that's
You
like,
can't make black jokes without black people in the room. That's just the fact, right? I don't make Jewish jokes unless, I guess, I'll be doing them, right? So Mandy, were you in the room when Mandy said I'm cheap just like she would expect? I was like, Mandy, and she was like, but you're here.
Yeah, she says it to your face.
No, I also think it's important to have to laugh about ourselves, right?
Also,
like,
there's...
I make more Jew jokes at my table.
You have to.
Than any, like, it's a constant thing. And sometimes, like, I remember, like, if I have, like, non-Jewish friends that are coming over, I have to be, like, tell my brother, like, hey, like, comment on the gay jokes.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yo, you have to. When you want to make a gay joke, they got to be in the room, right? Like, you got to make sure someone's laughing with you. And also, I think there's a few different things about stereotypes. There's stereotypes that are really harmful and hurtful, right? I.e., I think one easy one, black people being violent, black men particularly, right? Like that's a very like, no, right? Because we know it's not true. And with the, I would say chicken thing, like to me, obviously we laughing about it, it's funny, but like I found out that was like the only food that slaves were eating at the time, or even with like frying food and things like that, because they had to just
upcycle. Yeah.
Black people had to fry everything because some of the meat was bad. So like, there's obviously a place where we get it from, but like even with the Jew and sheep thing, like Mandy or Alex jokes with me all the time, who I own a business with, right? He wants to get new cameras. He just did. You see, I didn't realize it.
Yeah, you walked in.
I walked in here. This new. Oh my God. I was like, no, everybody's going to book. It doesn't fucking matter. We're not raising the prices, but there's new cameras. Like, what the fuck we going to do this for? So he was like, oh my God, you're so Jewish. All we going to do is like sell the old cameras. We'll only spend a few more thousand. I'm like, no, figure out a way to get the new income. We're not going to buy the cameras unless we get a big fucking gig. And we did. And that's the only reason there's some new cameras in here. But seriously, like, that shit really propelled my life in a great way. Like, my dad, I'm sorry, it's true. My dad was so cheap when he had to buy me a fucking computer for school. I remember we walked into Apple and I was so excited to have a MacBook. And he goes, you give a free case? And they're like, no, there's a line out of the fucking door. Like, why do we need to give you a free case? And he made me go get a Dell. And I was crying. I was like, but you were going to spend the money. He was like, they don't want to do anything for you. Why do you do anything for them? You go to Best Buy, they make a deal. No. Like,
such an Israeli.
Fuck.
Like the bartering system, it's the shuk. This is how we grew up.
Yeah.
No, but so the funny thing is, like, even like the Jews as cheap stereotype, that's really like a European Jew thing, because you know, Middle Eastern Jews. I said Arab Jews and I got yelled at.
Are they the rich ones?
It's not even about rich or not rich. We have, like, for example, Persians. They have a concept of like tarofing, where it's like the check comes and they fight over who gets to pay. They're like, oh, I will pay, and they're like, I will pay, and it's like everyone just fights over who gets to pay.
Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Yeah, exactly. And then like same thing, like my grandpa, like we're not Persian, we're Syrian Lebanese, but we also tarof. Like literally, like if you see, like if I go out with my grandparents and they see like one of like their friends or like one of my aunt's friends or like it's just someone that they know and they say hi to outside, they'll like talk to the waiter and be like, pay their bill. They're like, oh, they already told us to pay your bill. And it's like, oh.
Tarofing?
Tarofing. That's a Persian.
That's what when I need with men.
Yeah.
Tarof?
Yeah, you need tarofing, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I do
That's
a fake
very
reach.
Arab thing.
I love to do this when the check comes.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
you
like
open
look
the
for
bag?
nothing.
Thank you.
You're so sweet.
Well, I will say, so I always open the bag because my brother went on a date once. And again, like, we're very, like, hate to say it, like, I come from a Hispanic, Jewish, Arab background, right? So we are very patriarchal in some ways, where my brother's going to pay for whatever date he goes on, right? So he went on a date with this girl and he was going to pay anyway. And he said as soon as the check came, she pulled out her lipstick and goes, thank you. And then just started putting it on. And he was like, I'm going to pay anyway, but this is sucky. Like, he said, like, that moment, like, he's like, you're not even going to do the fake out. Like, you opened your bag to take out your lipstick to apply it while I pay? And he did not like that. But it's fine.
I will say, now I've noticed, like, I won't do the fake reach if, one, they make the reservation and invite me. Mm-hmm. And two, if they've, like, established some men like you to understand they're doing this, like, that they're taking you, or if they mention that they're taking me out, or thank you for coming out with me, if they say something like that to me, then I won't do the fake reach. But I be faking it most of the time.
I mean, and I have split. And
when you split, doesn't it just dry you right up?
Yes and no, but I always offer an alternative, especially because when I was younger, for example, when I graduated from college, I was dating guys who were around college age, which was out of my comfort zone. I usually date older. I usually date like 5, 6, 7 years older. And then when I would go on dates when I was 22 with another guy who's 22, who's in his first job out of college, it's like, am I really expecting him to be paying for me? So the first couple of times, it wasn't even a fake out. It was like a offer to split until we were established. And even once we were established, we'd split here and there.
Mine's the opposite.
Really?
I don't split until like I'm seeing you again.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Once we're seeing each other seriously, like once he's my boyfriend, I'm still going to do the fake out. And it's still fully genuine if you're listening right now. But for
men, I think, believe that. Like, I've heard men say, like, oh, no, like, we should both be paying, and like, I'm going to do this for someone that's my girlfriend. Like, I feel like you're courting me in the beginning. Also, I've seen the joke so many times. This is the worst podcasters love talking about this. This is like,
is this a thing?
Yes.
About paying.
Oh, but they never
splitting the bill. First date splitting. No, they didn't talk about truth. That was the best one. But what did you teach me about the vocal frying? Like,
vocal frying upspeak.
Best shit I've heard ever.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
I need to put it in my phone like right now to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, there it is. Oh. That's so cool. I'm going to be talked about in
weeks. I only split.
No, not you. I'm going to steal it. I'm just kidding.
100%. I will give you my research.
I heard it from, anyway.
This person.
I read it.
Yeah. I only split if I don't want to see them again. Like this.
Me too.
Do you? Okay, because like you pay for the first one, second one. I'm only going so I can pay, so I feel like I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. I know I learned a ton, not only about you, but about the world of podcasting. So on behalf of me and Mariam, thank you for joining us, and join us again for the next episode of Americanish.
See you soon.
Bye.